Hello, alright, in this little quick video, hopefully this is a quick video, we are going to create a little app that listens for when text messages come into the phone. So this is kind of a cool little thing. In fact, I remember hearing about um, a guy who was suspicious of his wife cheating on him, so he built an Android app that pretty much spied on her, and he installed it on her phone without her knowing about it, and it collected all sorts of data: who she was taking calls from, who she was calling, who she was getting text messages, who she was texting, and it stored all that data and sent it to, I think, his web server or something like that. Well, I don't want you to give you any crazy ideas, but anyways, it could be kind of cool to be able to intercept text messages coming into the phone and doing something with them. One thing that you could do is you could look at the text that is in a text message, and if the text matches something that you're specifically looking for, you could act on it. So you could actually have your phone send a text message to your friend's phone, and if the text message had certain wording in it, you could write a little app that could check the text message for certain words or whatever, and react based on the content of the text message. Anyways, there's all sorts of fun ideas you can do with this, but I'll show you how to do it. But the first thing that we need to do is I need to show you how to simulate sending texts to your emulator. And I've got my emulator up and running here. And what we can do is go over to Android Studio, and if you go to Tools, and then Android here, and then choose Android Device Monitor, this will bring up a tool that is really handy. And now this was a lot more prominent back when we were using Eclipse for Android development. And I don't know if there's an Android Studio equivalent of this tool, because this seems to be just the old one. But it was called the DDMS tool. Gosh, I can't even. Well, here it is. It's popping up right now. But this gives you a lot of information about your emulator. So if I look right here, here's my emulator that's running. So I want to make sure that I click on that right here. And then there's all these tabs, and you can keep track of all sorts of things about the emulator that's running, the memory that it's using. You can look at the network traffic that it's receiving or sending. You can actually you can explore the file system of the phone. So this is kind of interesting. I'll just show you real quick here. Let's see, what can I show you in here? If you look in the data folder, in the next data folder, now here I'm going to stretch this out a little bit. This is where all the apps that are installed on the phone are stored inside the data/data directory. So here's all the apps that I have installed on this emulator. But the one that I want to show you right now is this emulator control tab. So click on that, and you can use this to send text messages to your phone. So what you can do here is enter. So we'll give it a phone number. So in this incoming number, press like 555-1212 or whatever number you want. It really doesn't matter. So this is going to be the number that's sending the text message. And what was the other thing I need to do here? And, oh, I need to choose my emulator. In a second. Hang on a second. Okay, I was just a little thrown off because I wasn't able to select these radio buttons, and I think it was because I had a dash in my phone number here. So apparently you can't have a dash in your phone number. But once I get a fake phone number entered in here, then I can click on SMS right here, and then I can type in a message. So I'll just type in hello there, and then when I hit send here, it should. Oh, you heard that loud noise there. I think that was my emulator telling me that it just received a message. So let's take a look at our emulator. So I'm going to click over here, and sure enough, you can see in the notification bar, here's an icon for the notification that a text came in. If I click on it, here's the phone number that I entered, and here is my text message. So that is how you can simulate incoming text messages for your emulator. you use this tool over here called the DDMS tool. I can't remember. I think DDMS stands for like Dalvik Debugging and Monitoring System or something like that. Dalvik is the name of the Java runtime that runs Android applications, and that's actually been updated, so it's no longer Dalvik, but it's a new virtual machine basically that runs Android applications. So you got to make sure that your emulator is clicked on here. If this isn't selected, you may not get the controls to work the way you want them to. So make sure that you've got your emulator selected over here, and then it's over here in the emulator control tab. But there's all sorts of other stuff you can use this DDMS tool for as well. So now that we know how to simulate text messages coming into our phone, let's write some code that actually we're going to write some code that actually responds to incoming text messages. So we'll go over here and do to Android Studio, new file, new, and we'll do new project. And let's just call this one receive SMS Messages. You can call it really whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. And hit next, and we'll leave it at API 17, that's fine. Let's use a blank activity, hit next. You can leave all the defaults right here and do finish. Okay, and then once it builds, we'll be ready to go. Alright, so we're gonna use a class that we haven't used yet in this course. It's not going to be an activity, it's going to be a class that we don't actually see. So we know that activities are kind of user interface screens, but what we're going to create is basically a service that's running in the background, waiting for text messages to come in. So I'm going to create a new, I'm going to go to my Java directory and create it. I'll click on this top package here. The other one, by the way, is for your unit tests. We haven't done any unit testing in here, so we're not going to worry about it. But that's what that folder is for. But go to your regular folder, and then we'll add a new class. New class. And let's just call this SMS Receiver. Like that. So capital S, capital M, capital S, capital R, and then receiver, all one word. Click OK. Now this we want this to extend broadcast receiver. This is the class that we can have listening for text messages coming in. What did I do wrong here? Oh, extends. Okay, and then I need to import this too. So Alt Enter. There we go. And it's giving us some errors here. SMS receiver must be declared abstract. Implement. Okay, so when we extend broadcast receiver, we have to provide, since it's an abstract class, we have to provide an implementation for one of the methods, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we'll ignore this compile error just for a moment, because it will go away once we get the right code inside there. But the first thing I want to do is create a public static constant called tag, and we'll use that in our logging to watch these messages come in. So I'm going to make it public static final string and call it tag, all uppercase. And now we've seen this before from the logging video that we watched during phase 2, and the value that I'm going to put in here is just SMS receive. So that's going to be our logging tag. And now let's get to that method that we need to implement when we extend broadcast receiver. That's good. We're going to do an override here. So override public void on receive. And the parameters are going to be context and an intent. And now I'm not going to explain this code in here, but basically what we'll do in a little bit is we'll configure this broadcast receiver to listen specifically for incoming text messages. Now we do that in the manifest file, so I'll show you that once we finish writing the code here. So I'll explain that later, because right now you're probably wondering, well, how does it know to respond to incoming text messages? Well, we have to declare all that stuff inside the manifest file. But we'll just say that that's already done, and we're ready to handle a text message right now in this onReceive. So what's going to happen is the Android operating system will call this onReceive method once a text message comes in. So now the text message itself is going to be stuffed inside of the intent parameter, so we need to get the text message out of the intent. And we've done this before. We've worked with the extras inside of an intent, so this shouldn't be too foreign to you. But I have to import the intent class first, so I'm going to do Alt-Enter. And I also have to import the context class, so I'll do Alt-Enter there. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to get the extras out of the intent. And the extras is actually an instance of a bundle in Android. And now this PUDS variable name here, don't worry about. I'm not going to explain this code. Like I said, it can be complicated to convert a text message to its actual text, and I think that's because it comes in as binary data, so we've got to use some stuff to translate it. Like I said, I'm not going to explain this code. You can just copy it and type it in. So anyways, intent get extras. So that's going to contain the text of our text message. I need to import the bundle there. Let's see, what do we need to do now? No, alright, just bear with me. Object array, and we'll call this PDUs. PDU has to do with the format of how text messages are sent. And I don't really understand them myself, which is why I'm not going to try and explain them. But so just leave you to pursue that on your own if you're interested. PDS bundle. I got my cheat sheet helping me out here. Get, so text messages have a key called PDUs, and it's those PDUs that actually, it's the encoded version of our text message. So we're basically converting it into an array of objects, and then we're going to turn it into a text message that we can read. So oops. So we're going to create an instance of text message. Message create from PDU, and that's going to be, this is funky code here. We have to cast this to a byte array, so be careful of my syntax here, or your syntax here. Okay, so like I said, I don't think we need to dive into this code. We just need to trust that it works. So the intent gets passed into our broadcast receiver here. Then we need to pull the data out of the intent, and that's in the form of our get extras. So that returns a bundle. And then we look inside the bundle for the chunk of data that has a key of PDUs, and we're going to cast that to an array of objects. And then we can take that array of objects and pass it into this method right here, and that will turn it into an instance of an SMS message class. And we can, once we have that SMS message class, right here we called it messages, we can pull the text out of it. So kind of weird code, but let's not worry about it too much. So let's get the message itself. So let's create a string, call it text MSG equals messages dot get message body. So this will return the body of the text message. And we could get other information about the text message itself, such as the phone number and maybe things like the time it was sent. Not really sure what else we can get there. And then what we're going to do here is we're just simply going to log that text message out. So I'm going to do log dot I for information, and then we'll pass in our tag. Now this should look familiar because we looked at the logging video back in phase 2, and we will log out our text message just like that. Okay, that's all we need here. And I'll have to import the log class, so hit Control or Alt Enter there, and now that's all we need. So once we've configured our manifest file, that will this broadcast receiver will be notified every time a text message comes in. So how do we configure this broadcast receiver so that Android knows to call this onReceive method when an SMS message comes in? Well, like I said earlier, we have to set that up in the manifest file. So I'm going to go over here to the manifest file, open that up, and now you can see now if you notice back when I created this class, I just created a plain old Java class. What we've been doing in here is when we create new activities, we use Android Studio's feature to create new activities. And when you do that, it will actually register your new activity inside the manifest file for you. But since we didn't follow that procedure here, I have to manually register my broadcast receiver. So I'm going to go inside my application tag. So you can see I'm still inside the application tag, and I am going to register. Now this is not an activity, this is a broadcast receiver. So I'm going to enter receiver, and then the name of it is going to be SMS receiver. And now I'm not sure if you have to set these attributes, but I'll just do it anyway. So anyway, Android exported equals true. And at one time I knew what these were, but to be honest with you, I can't remember what these do. We could look them up. And the other one, Android enabled equals true. And there's my tag to register my receiver. And now what we need to do is put an intent filter inside here that says that we're listening for incoming text messages. So that's the first step. There's going to be one other thing we have to do too. But so inside of our receiver tag, we need an intent filter, and hopefully you all understand what intent filters are and how Android uses them for intent resolution. So I'll create, here's my filter, and then we have to give it an action. So this is what it's listening for. Android name equals, now you got to get this right, and you got to make sure it's entered exactly as you see it here. So capitalization and everything has to be exact, otherwise this isn't going to work. So it's going to be Android provider, and then telephony with a capital T, and then SMS underscore received, all uppercase for that last little segment. So make sure you get this string right exactly, otherwise you're not going to be listening for the proper event. And I need to close this too, so there we go. So it should look like this. Actually, so here are the 5 lines that we've added. And notice that we're still inside the application tag down here. Okay, So this tells the Android operating system that this component, which is a broadcast receiver, is waiting for incoming text messages. That's what that is here. Now there is one more thing we need to do in the manifest file here to make everything work. And that we have to declare that our app is requesting permission to receive SMS text messages. Okay? Now I don't know how far we've gotten into this, but this is actually a really important feature of Android. So what I'm going to do is up here, outside of my application tag, I'm going to add a uses permission tag. Uses permission, and the Android name is going to be, the permission that we want to use is Android.permission.receive SMS, that one. Okay, so you need to add that to your manifest file, but that's outside of the application tag. Now, this is a whole new can of worms, but maybe what I'll try and do is just really briefly explain what's going on here. If you've ever installed an application on your Android phone, you'll know that what you see when right before you install it are the permissions that the phone is going to use. So that's a way for you to look at the apps that you're installing and decide whether you want to grant them permission to do all these things. For example, if you want your app to access the internet, you have to request permission to do that. And when the user installs your app, then they'll see that you've requested those permissions, and they can determine whether they want to allow the app to do that or not. If they don't want the app to do it, then they'll just not install it. So I find a lot of games for my kids, and but I won't install ones that ask for all sorts of crazy permissions. Like sometimes the permission list that an app is requesting is all sorts of stuff, like writing to the file system of the phone and reading from the file system. Well, I don't feel comfortable with letting just any old silly game app do all that stuff on my phone, because there could be security issues. So anyways, this is a security mechanism that's built into Android. So these permissions get alerted to the users when they install the phone or install an app, and if they don't like the permissions that an app is using, they can choose not to install it. But anyways, all the permissions that you ask for in the manifest file will appear in the list of permissions that the user sees when they install your app. So that's what this chunk of code is doing here. Alright, I think everything is all set. I think that's all we need to run this. So let's go ahead and launch this. You guys don't have to wait so long. Okay, so here is my app that we just created, and we weren't doing anything with the main activity, so it's just got that default string that gets put in there. And actually, I don't even believe that we need this running right now, so I'm actually going to hit the home button here. And then what I'm going to do is go back to my DDMS, Android device monitor over here, and I'm going to send another text message. This time I'm going to send it from 555-5555. Is that right? Something like that. And I'll type in hello there again and hit send. Okay, and that sound was the emulator telling us that a notification came in. So here's our text message that we just sent. Now I'm going to go over to the log file in Android Studio over here, and I'm hoping that I can find, whoops, I might have got an error here, hang on a second. So I'm not sure what this error message is that's showing up here. Every now and then you see strange error messages in your log. But what I'm going to do is filter my log file. So the tag that we applied to that log was SMS received. So I'm going to start typing in SMS. And you can see right here, there's my log message. Now, why it fired twice, I'm not sure. But let me just go ahead and clear this, clear the log. And then I'll send, so I hit the trash can there to clear the log. And I'll send this message one more time. So This time I'll make it come from 666, 1, 2, 3, 6666, all sixes this time. So I'll do send, and then bounce back over to Android Studio, and you can see there is my broadcast receiver logging that the message came in. Okay, and yeah, I'm not sure why this is doing it twice here. That's a little bit strange, but whatever, seems to be working. All right, so that's how you can write an app to intercept text messages coming into the phone.